Hi, my name is Lauren and I'm here to describe the measure phase of our DMAIC process. You just heard a little bit about BCRA's problem statement of wanting to reduce write-offs, basically turning the red into black. We're going to spend a couple minutes going over the data that we compiled and looked into and analyzed to help give us a good snapshot of what's going on. Just as a reminder, the measure phase is to thoroughly understand the current state of the process and collect reliable data on process speed, quality, and costs that you will use to expose the underlying causes of the problem. So you heard what a write-off is. We wanted to chart the frequency of write-offs as well as the total dollars lost. So all of these lines on this chart have reasons why that write-off occurred. Anything from underestimated scope, inexperienced staff, bad debt, inadequate supervision of staff, rework by staff, error or omission on documents, unapproved work outside of the scope, or scope creep, scope being too vague. So we use something in this process called a Pareto chart, which allows us to prioritize the most common defects. And the way we prioritized that was we looked at the different write-offs that had categories that I just mentioned, and to see the frequency of dollars lost per category. So as I just mentioned, of those categories, underestimated scope effort was about $80,000 and about 30% of the total error rate. So as you can see, as this line gets closer to 100, we're able to figure out the 80% mark, and the rule of thumb being you want to focus on the largest percentage of your possible defects so that you're prioritizing improvement projects and countermeasures that are actually going to get at the bulk of your errors. So we decided to look at underestimated scope effort, inexperienced staff, and bad debt, and inadequate supervision of staff. So just as a quick aside, as far as next steps for work, we were able to classify about 40% of the total write-offs. 60% of all of the write-offs within that company we still need to categorize. So for the purposes of this assignment, we're only looking at that 40%. The recognition being the next step would be to continue to categorize those defects without categories. So parallel to our process, back in April, employees within this company all gathered around and brainstormed what could be possible reasons why write-offs were occurring. And very similar to our results with the data, scope creep outside of contract, errors, rework, tools, training, resource, staffing errors contributed to the most write-offs. And we also wanted to go to the work, the Gemba, so to speak, and this informed our spaghetti diagram to demonstrate the kind of controlled chaos that's going on the floor. We have a lot of young, inexperienced staff that don't really know who to contact and when, and project managers don't necessarily know to check in with their inexperienced staff on a daily basis. So you can see that there's a lot of wandering around and waste of time and resources just trying to figure out the right person to talk to. So I'm going to pause there and we'll move on to the next step. The goal of the measure phase was to just get a snapshot of how big our problem is. Now that we know we want to focus on underestimated scope, effort, inexperienced staff, bad debt, and inadequate supervision of staff, we need to really drill in to figure out what's contributing to these dollars lost. Thank you.